Live from Red Zone Weather in Bruton, Alabama, with meteorologist Spinks Meganson. A tropical weather update starts right now.
Tropical Storm Fred located in the east central Gulf of Mexico, and Fred is on a collision course with the Florida Panhandle over the next 24 to 36 hours. Good Sunday evening to you. I'm meteorologist Spinks Meganson. Glad you're with us this evening. Fred has really become a bit more organized over the last 24 hours. The system is located about 300 miles to the southeast of Pensacola, Florida, and Fred continues to move to the northwest. You can see that convection has increased on the eastern periphery of this system as expected, and over the next 24 hours, Fred is going to approach the Florida Panhandle coast, most likely as a tropical storm. And so we've got all the information concerning Fred, and we're looking at now Tropical Depression Grace located in the Caribbean Sea. That storm going to also move into the Gulf of Mexico by the time we get into the middle part of the week. And yes, indeed, we're watching yet another potential storm that could become a tropical storm over the next 24 hours. But first, let's talk about what's happening with Fred, because this is the storm of note that will likely move onshore in the Florida Panhandle by the time we get into tomorrow night. Here is the last few frames of the visible satellite shot and also the combined radar view. Keep in mind that there probably is a good bit more rain happening out and through here over the center of circulation right there, but it's because we don't have a good radar view, of course, out here over the Gulf. We also have had scattered showers and thunderstorms in our local area over the last few hours, not associated with Fred. But right now, the center of Fred, located right in through here on the western side of this burst of convection, those are very tall thunderstorms that you can see on the infrared satellite shot. And what's going to happen over the next few hours, Fred is going to continue to move to the north-northwest at about 12 miles per hour. This storm is not going to be a repeat of Hurricane Sally, what we saw last year with the storm stalling out. In fact, Fred is likely to continue to move fairly rapidly to the north and really the north-northwest over the next several hours. Again, the center right on the western periphery of that deeper area of convection, and that's all going to move just like that toward places like Apalachicola, Port St. Joe, Mexico Beach, Panama City in the overnight hours. Rain chances going to become excessively high in those areas. Again, there's the last few frames of the visible shot of Fred. Center of circulation right in through here. We'll turn the track back on and talk a little bit about the cone of uncertainty, because that has shifted yet again today back to the east, which is good news for our local area. We also are going to look at a detailed bit concerning the impacts for our local area. But again, the center of Fred right in through here. We have had several showers moving inland from Fred across the Florida Peninsula region. But so far today, again, for our area, these storms currently in progress locally have nothing to do with Fred. These are more the daily showers and thunderstorms. We'll come back at the very end and look at the radar. There's the cone of uncertainty extending from basically Navarre on the eastern side, or excuse me, western side, all the way back over to Port St. Joe there on the eastern side. Let's go ahead and zoom into the local area so you can see that and get a better vantage point here. And what this means, the center point of this storm most likely to come on shore near Seaside, but perhaps as far west as Destin or Fort Walton Beach, perhaps as far east as Panama City. But again, the good news for our local area is that those impacts are going to be on the eastern flank of this. So let's hypothetically say that that line happens to be the path that Fred, moves on shore. That would mean that southeast Alabama and the Florida Panhandle region has more in the way of impacts compared to us over here in southwest Alabama and also northwest Florida, basically to the west of Destin. No doubt, though, we're going to have a big-time rain event with Fred, especially in areas just to our east in the Florida Panhandle, Panama City, Miramar Beach, back down to Apalachicola could have upwards of 7 inches of rain. There's the fixed view in terms of the projected path here, and this also gives a good idea of the timing situation. By the time we get to tomorrow afternoon, Fred will likely be centered right in this general vicinity of the Gulf south of Destin, and then most likely coming on shore somewhere near or perhaps just to the east of Destin in parts of Walton or Bay counties, the most likely landfall points for Fred at this point. By 1 a.m., the center of Fred will be crossing from Florida into Alabama, somewhere again between Dothan all the way back over to say areas just south of Bruton. But again, most likely it will be a bit farther to our east, and Fred will be a distant memory by the time we get to Tuesday afternoon. That's when we'll begin focusing on Tropical Depression Grace, likely to be a tropical storm again fairly soon. So in terms of the impacts, Fred likely to bring potentially some flash flooding issues to parts of southeast Alabama and the Florida Panhandle. But again, if the center goes in as expected in the Florida Panhandle and moves into Alabama, that would largely spare our local area from the risk of flash flooding. A flash flood watch is in effect for Crenshaw, Covington, Santa Rosa, Okaloosa, and Walton counties locally, and also all of southeast Alabama and the Florida Panhandle region, in addition to southwestern Georgia, because of this. Expected rain amounts of 5 to 7 inches of rain in the Florida Panhandle, 3 to 4 inches of rain for much of east Alabama, and for us, there's going to be kind of a steep gradient here. Most of us probably will not get much rain at all, less than 1/2 inch of rain in total, but the closer you get to that center line, and obviously east of there, that's where your heavy rain is going to move in from the Gulf of Mexico associated with Fred. There is potentially a low-end tornado risk that could develop tomorrow into Tuesday for basically Okaloosa, Covington, Butler counties, and points back to the east, including the Florida Panhandle, southeast Alabama, and really extending into east Alabama as well. And obviously tornadoes don't know county lines, but for the sake of simplicity, again, we're calling a low-end tornado risk for Okaloosa, Covington, Butler counties, points back to the east. West of there, no tornado risk, 0 tornado risk if the center of Fred moves as expected like that to the east of our local area, and that certainly would be a good thing if it verifies. Looking at the Storm Prediction Center convective outlook, maybe a tornado risk tonight in the overnight hours, basically from Panama City back down to Port St. Joe, Apalachicola, Bluntstown, involved in a low-end tornado risk overnight, and then tomorrow that tornado risk moves a bit farther inland as Fred continues moving to the north. So again, parts of east Alabama, southeast Alabama, and really the Florida Panhandle involved in that tornado risk. And I realize that line does come down and include a part of our local area, but it's going to be, again, the center point of Fred and points back to the east involved in the tornado risk. Good news, no major high wind impacts are expected locally in our area. However, down around the coast, specifically in Okaloosa County, could have upwards of 30 to 40 mile per hour wind gusts in places like Destin, back over to Fort Walton Beach, up to Niceville. But outside of those 3 areas, most likely vast majority of us will be A-OK in terms of the wind impacts. Also, earlier we had a tropical storm watch for all of Escambia County, Alabama. That is now off the board. That has been canceled. And so if you're in Escambia, Alabama, places like Bruton, back over to Atmore, Flomaton, no longer involved in a tropical storm watch. However, Escambia and Santa Rosa counties and Covington County involved in the tropical storm watch, and of course the tropical storm warning does continue for Okaloosa and Walton counties and points back to the east all the way down to Tallahassee. You've also got Coffee, Dale, Henry, Houston, and Geneva counties involved in southeast Alabama in a tropical storm warning, and those are the zones where we're expecting the core of Fred to move in and potentially bring tropical storm force wind gusts tomorrow. And that's depicted on one of our models. This is the global forecast system. Again, north and east of the center, that right front quadrant, is where we're expecting most of the rain, most of the wind gusts, and potentially a few tornadoes. By the time we get to tomorrow morning, it looks like Fred will be centered south of Destin. Again, most likely coming on shore somewhere between Destin and Panama City. Places like Seaside, Rosemary Beach could have the center of this storm moving in, and that's where we could have 40 to 50, maybe even 60 mile per hour wind gusts across parts of the Florida Panhandle region. By tomorrow evening, Fred will likely be inland somewhere approaching the Alabama state line from at the Florida Panhandle, and that would mean gusty winds being possible for places like Dothan, Fort Rucker, and also Enterprise over in southeast Alabama. But for us, in our area, southwest Alabama and northwest Florida to the west of Destin, we would be okay. Again, that look is valid at 1 p.m. tomorrow. Heavy rain and gusty winds possible, mainly in areas just to our east. But Fred is only one half of the equation. In addition to Fred, we're also watching another separate tropical storm, tropical depression really at this point, as winds have now dropped to 35 miles per hour. This is Grace, and I want you to look at the forecast. This is off one of the deterministic models, the global forecast system. The GFS actually keeps Grace fairly weak and actually weakens the thing to the point where it's no longer a big issue by the time we get to Friday. So that is a potential possibility. The National Hurricane Center somewhat disagrees with this. They're forecasting Grace to be intact by the time it gets to the Gulf of Mexico. Here's the whole cone of uncertainty. Again, there's Fred. This is Grace down here near Puerto Rico, going to move to the northwest and reach the southern Gulf of Mexico by the time we get into the latter part of the week. And keep in mind, forecast confidence in that range, in the 4 to 5 day range, is very low. But what is certain right now is that Grace is not as strong as it once was even 24 hours ago. If you remember, Fred was in this general area of the Caribbean Sea near Puerto Rico and Hispaniola several days ago, and Grace is very near where Fred was. There's Puerto Rico right here. These are the Virgin Islands, and the center of Grace is right in through here, south of Puerto Rico. But you can see on the infrared satellite shot, it's a very messy, disorganized system, which is why Grace is now classified as a tropical depression. So again, the center of the storm right in through there now. This is unfortunately going to be a big deal for Hispaniola, bringing heavy rain and potentially mudslides as well. And of course, that's exactly what Haiti does not need. We had a big magnitude 7.2 earthquake yesterday morning in the southern part of Haiti down here. And unfortunately, Grace could exacerbate the situation in parts of Hispaniola. But confidence, I should say, is very low in the long term for Grace. This is the 4 and day 5 outlook for where Grace could be. And that may mean that the system is farther north up here toward Louisiana, or farther south, like what I showed you in that model with the GFS potentially as far south as the Yucatan Peninsula. And so anywhere over the Gulf of Mexico here, we could see Grace by the time we get into the latter part of the week. What that means is we all have got to watch this storm, basically from the Texas coast, from Brownsville all the way up to Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and even Florida. Not out of the woods yet with Grace. Plenty of uncertainty and model changes possible over the next few days. In addition to Grace, we're also watching a new system. This is Invest 96L. It's a cluster of clouds here near Bermuda. This, of course, is the east coast of the United States. This will likely become the H-named storm. Fred, Grace, and then the H name is actually pronounced Henri. It's a French name, and that's spelled like Henry, but it's actually pronounced Henri. And so this could be Tropical Storm Henri as it drifts south very near Bermuda out here in the Atlantic Ocean. This will likely never be an issue for South Alabama or Northwest Florida. Henri will probably stay well away from our area. Let me actually step off camera and show you the 7-day real quick, because we are forecasting scattered showers and thunderstorms long after the center of Fred moves away, with high temperatures in the 80s over the next few days due to all the clouds and rain around, and highs return into the low 90s by the time we get into the middle part of the week. So even after we lose Fred and the system moves away to the north, still going to have these daily pop-up thunderstorms. So be aware of that, and we will continue to watch Fred. More forecast changes possible over the next really 24 hours until this thing arrives on the coast. We'll keep you posted every step of the way. And of course, we will have updates in the Red Zone weather app as needed. I hope you have a wonderful evening. My next video will be posted by 7:15 a.m. tomorrow morning. Have a good evening.
Be sure to find us across social media, and don't forget to download the free Red Zone weather app and set up your customized alerts. Please support our Red Zone weather sponsors who make our coverage possible every single day.